Welcome to the July 5th Board of Education organizational meeting. Can I have a motion, please, to move into executive session? So moved, Jen, second by Mike. All in favor? Aye. 7-0, executive session.
Now we do.
Great. Is he ready? Okay, sorry. Welcome back to our July 5th reorg meeting. Can I have a motion, please, to move out of exec session? Jen?
Second.
Second, Charlie. All in favor? No, thank you. All right, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone's had a chance to look at the agenda. We don't have any changes, correct? Motion to approve the agenda. Linda? Second, Jen. All in favor? Aye. 7-0. All right, that moves us into the reorganization.
Welcome to the 2022-2023 organization meeting of the Webster Board of Education. At this time, I'm pleased to administer the oath of office for our newly elected and re-elected members, Carol Barnabas, Linda Diagardi, and Charlie Rudes. Will you please stand and raise your hand? Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member, Board of Education, according to the best of your ability?
I will.
Please sign your documents and pass them down. Congratulations. Okay, the first order of business is the election of board officers, and I will now entertain nominations for the president of the Board of Education for the 2022-23 school year.
I nominate Janice Richardson for president. I second the nomination.
Are there any other nominations or discussion? Okay, and now we'll take a roll call vote. We'll go in alphabetical order. Mike? Carol?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Shanna?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
And Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President, Webster Board of Education, according to the best of your ability? I do. Congratulations. Mrs. Wallace. Okay, and the next order of business is nomination for vice president. Are there any nominations? Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations or any discussion? Okay, and we'll do another roll call vote. Mike?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Shanna?
Yes.
Janice?
Yes.
And Charlie?
Yes.
Congratulations. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of office of Vice President, Webster Board of Education, according to the best of your ability? I will. Congratulations. And I now turn the meeting over to your president, who will administer the oath to Superintendent Meenan. Sorry.
All right. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Superintendent of Schools, Webster Central School District, according to the best of your ability?
I will.
Congratulations.
Now for Cindy. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of District Clerk, Webster Central School District, according to the best of your ability?
I will.
So now we move on to, and I'm looking at, sorry if this is a little discombobulated, hopefully I can get a flow going here at some point. We're looking at the Board of Education Annual Organization Meeting chart. So the next thing, thank you, is number 4, district appointments, where we have district treasurer, deputy treasurer, all the way through double J. Do we have any questions or comments on that?
My laptop is dead.
Oh,
But I think, is this also where we're nominating the architect? It is, right? Yeah. So I'm just going to abstain from this vote, just because of my previous relationship with Lavella. It could be a conflict of interest, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay. There are no other comments or questions, then a motion to approve the district appointment, section 4. So moved, Mike?
In a second.
Second, Linda. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0-1 abstention. All right, then section 5, district designations for 22-23. Any comments or questions? All right, motion to approve. Jen? Second, Linda. All in favor? Aye. Seven. Next section is necessary resolutions. Any comments or questions about this section? This is the signing out of buildings and rooms and accessibility. Questions, comments? All right, motion to approve necessary resolution section. So moved, Mike.
Second.
Second, Charlie. All in favor? Aye. 7-0. All right. Next section is 7, fees and charges. This is our next section. More questions or comments? All right, motion to approve section 7, fees and charges. Shanna, so moved. Second, sorry. It is hard. It's hard. Okay, all in favor? Aye. 7-0. Okay. Section 8, salary actions. Questions or comments? All right, motion to approve.
So moved.
Linda? Mike? All in favor? Aye. And then the last one is section 9, other actions. So this is that the annual election and vote will be held on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Webster Schrader High School. Questions, comments? Motion to approve. Jen? Mike? All in favor? Aye. Okay. We are tabling the student speech, correct? They were unavailable to attend. Okay, so we're going to be tabling that for a future meeting, August. Moving on to capital project planning presentation.
Sure. How's that?
Better.
Okay, good. All righty. So a lot has happened since our workshop on the 10th. I want to keep you apprised of some changes and look forward to the discussion this evening. So first is, we had a little homework assignment from the workshop, so we're just going to share those results. Highlight some updates, some changes that have happened in the last almost 60 days since May. Do a quick review building by building, show you what's going on around the county right now as far as capital project planning, because we are all on the same building condition survey schedule. Maybe talk a little bit about projected phasing, take a look at what debt service would look like and an estimated local impact, and then questions and discussions, but please, as we go, stop me and we can dive into that. So here are the results of our homework assignment, where everybody submitted a ranking from 1 to 10, 1 being the most important, to 10 being not quite the priority. So as you can see, the HVAC improvements scored the best when we looked at the average and the median of everybody's score, followed by the roofing, bathrooms, which was Spry doing a redo there. And then as they worked their way with some of the field improvements, scoring the lowest overall. So that is where we all landed as a group based off of that workshop. So I just wanted to make sure I share that information back out with everybody as well. Any surprises you see there? Anything shock you based on that workshop conversation we had? I didn't, yeah. And then, I didn't include it here, but I did a standard deviation, and it was, pretty spot on. So some highlights to update. So over the last 2 months, one of the things we presented was an expansion at State Road to address possible UPK enrollment expansion, as well as some future development, housing development in the State Road catchment around 250 in Atlantic. When we did a more specific enrollment projection and had some early conversations with the state, we didn't think we were going to be able to get that done, so we removed that. One of the surprising developments, I know we touched on it briefly, but the county has given us the go-ahead to go out onto Plank Road. So we have a couple different designs right now that they're looking at. So we added an allocation in the last 2 months to Plank North for that additional driveway, in essence, out of Plank North onto Plank. So right now, they're landlocked with just the one entrance in and out for 2 buildings on Scribner. We have asked repeatedly. We must have just finally found the right county person and got the approval, and it's in writing. So we're gonna take that and run with it, because that is a once in a generational opportunity to improve the situation over there. We just can't pass that on. Yeah. So, cost escalation. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Cost escalation. Looking at everything right now, and we're currently undergoing, the bus garage is working with a lot of asphalt and site work over there. What they bid back then and what the price of asphalt is right now is we think they're actually losing money compared to what they're having to purchase based on what they bid just 6 months ago for that project. The cost escalations have increased tremendously, and we couldn't in good conscience put some numbers down on some of those projected expenses, and 2 years from now be left holding the bag per se. And then, we finalized some square footage, honed that, and on the HVAC estimates as well. But then, we have 10 different people looking at our list of things that we wanted to get done. But double check again, and we forgot to add the generator at State Road. It was a line item for every other building, but we missed that one, so that, you'll see, was added to the final price at State Road as well. So, you know, Schrader, very similar, just the bottom lines changed based on some of those. Continued the brick repair around the building that we've started in the current project, highlighting a few areas that need to be done. Interior renovations, keep looking at classrooms, casework, removing old cabinetry, some HVAC and plumbing improvements there as well. Upgrade the emergency generator, the fire safety system upgrading, and then the turf stadium is about 5 years past its expected life, the original, so look to redo that as well. Thomas, this is the OWL program expansion to create their own wing, HVAC, including AC for the whole building, and then very similar interior renovations there to some of the older classrooms. Replace the track. The track at Thomas is beyond its life as well. We've done some repairs in the last year, but it is falling apart, the substructure in the interior lanes. And then the turf simultaneously to Schrader was put in the same time over here. It has passed its useful life as well. Willing, just celebrating 20 years old. It's hard to say, it's still our new building. So not a lot of work there, but the middle school OWL program getting its own classroom. Here, upgrade the emergency generator, and then all the parking lots need to be done. So we are actually going to reconstruct and change the traffic flow a little bit. Allocated dollars to that to see if we could alleviate some additional congestion on Publishers Parkway and the Hard Road. It's a tough intersection no matter what. I liken it to 1995, 5 Mile Ridge. It took quite some time to expand that to alleviate traffic. That's a real tough intersection as far as with traffic at dismissal and arrival as well. We do not have the same kind of go-ahead with possibly creating another exit onto Hard from the Willing property, but it's something we looked at, but it's just not really feasible at this time. At Spry, HVAC upgrades, including AC for the areas of the building that aren't done yet, some interior renovations in the classrooms, some ceiling work, some carpeting work, complete restroom upgrade for this building hasn't been done in a very, very long time. And then some drainage work to the field that is closest to the little walking park there in the village, has some water issues that we want to take a look at. But the two big things here at Spry are the bathroom work and the AC for the building. And I just realized I said here at Spry, we're actually at Thomas for this meeting. Just mentally caught that one. Schlegel Road, the OWL expansion there for that program. And by doing that at the elementary would, in essence, free up 5 more elementary classrooms. So whether we continue to have the conversation about reducing class size or adjusting as enrollments change with some of those new housing developments, that gives us the kind of swing space I think we need to be able to address that. Is another reason why not to do the State Road expansion. Some HVAC upgrades there as well, entrance landscape improvements, but the big is the expansion here at Schlegel Road. DeWitt Road, reconstructing the bus loop there is the large cost upgrade. AC for the remainder of the building, they just have the first floor to finish there for DeWitt Road. Clem North, AC for the entire building. That's a building that hasn't really had too much work there. The roof at Clem North is beyond its useful life there, and that's an additional cost at this elementary school. Generator and some landscape improvements around the entrance that are sustainable and survive salt and snow. Clem South, not a lot to do there, just the emergency generator upgrade and replacement, and some entrance improvements as well there. and AC for the gym. Plank North, so HVAC and AC for the building. The roof here as well is beyond its useful life. Some interior renovations as well. There's some older areas of the buildings that we're looking to update, carpet, wall, ceiling. It is the oldest elementary school in the district right now, so it's a little unique with some of its design and styles. Look to update some of that. Landscape improvements in the front, and then the new entrance onto Plank Road as well. Some estimated dollars for that as well.
What are they doing? What were they doing at Plank North? Or was there, like, they have the fencing all
Oh,
around?
so,
What is the, I'm so sorry, refresh my memory.
That's a staging area for two different contractors.
Gotcha.
They asked to be located there because it gives them flexibility to get to both those schools they were working last year at.
Gotcha.
And so that's just the staging area that the general contractor was using for all the elementary schools.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And then Plank South, small AC addition to the gym, emergency generator. The one difference here is the front sidewalk there in curving to get replaced in comparison to some of the other schools. And then State Road, no expansion, we removed that. AC for the building, the roof here, very similar to Club North. They're identical schools. It was done at the same time last time, so that roof needs to be replaced. Emergency generator upgrade, entrance, landscaping, and then the northeast parking lot. So if you think about it, the northeast corner is the closest to State Road. If you just walk out from the front playground, and then the sidewalks and the bus loop. We actually had a pipe burst, which escalated the need to replace some of the sidewalk. It's patched right now, but we know it needs to be done, so we'll get it all done hopefully in this next project. So just to kind of give you an overview of some of like the additions, the renovations, the site work, how that all breaks down, and what the total is projected to be for this project by building as a summation for you. And then kind of by area, what the large chunks are with the HVAC improvements and the additions, the three additions being the largest for cost for this projected work. So just a few thoughts as we were honing down from the workshop. It's a very conservative estimate of building aid. There's only 2 project managers at SED right now. All of the districts are running into this kind of issue. Previous, we would be able to pick up the phone and say, this is what we're thinking, this is what we want to do. They have requested full detailed drawings on the 3 expansions. So because of that, we don't have a guarantee on the building aid for those expansions. So we took a very conservative approach in estimating the building aid when trying to figure out what the local share is. So we have some hurdles to clear with SED on that. We have submitted those. We're hopeful in the next month or so we can get some firm answers. We're assuming 20 years of borrowing on the new builds as well. I know we talked a little bit about those maximum cost allowances as part of the workshop. The way we would phase a project like this would avoid, we're concerned at Plank North with some of the max cost allowances there and a couple of the other elementary schools. So by phasing, we would avoid those ceilings, which then frees up our building aid further. And we're also, assuming 3 years of short-term borrowings as part of this project because there is a lot of work and it's going to be ongoing as well. Questions before we kind of do a quick numbers dive? So this is a very, very long project, as I've projected out. This would go into 2047, 48, as we're projecting now. That could change, because those first, and this assumes a 2022 vote, that we would need in the first year, 25, 26, maybe a short-term borrowing to get, as we're phasing this project. It would take some time. There's a lot of work here to get done. And then an estimated building aid, so what's the local share? And then assuming over the next 23 years or so, a 2% levy increase, what does that look like? And what does that mean to the local share? This is very estimate, this is very preliminary. This is just using the 2% tax cap and projecting that forward to try to get the best estimate of, what's it look like in 15 years. And you can see some changes based on all the phasing that goes on. So that would be my best guess estimated local share for the project moving forward. There is a lot of stuff in this project too. So because we're all kind of on the same cycle with that building condition survey, Monroe County is all at the same time. Here's some projects under development or recently passed in and around the county, or what's under consideration in a few school districts. I also picked 2 districts that were kind of similar size to us that are outside that have referendums or recently just passed as well for reference. I tried to find Liverpool and Syracuse area is roughly our size. Orchard Park is a district smaller than us, but very similar demographics south of Buffalo. So that's just what's going on. You see a lot of these projects in the county because of the building condition survey. It sparks the conversation to get this going. We all had to submit them. So here's what the next steps kind of look like if we wanted to move forward with. In August, we would do the environmental reviews and the state environmental quality reviews to all the local agencies. They would get back to us. We're just reconstructing our buildings. It took a little bit longer to do some of this with our last project because we were disturbing wetlands with the bus garage. So we need DEC input, you need the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We're not doing anything like this this time, so it's not as intense. And then the board would declare itself lead agency, and then we'd look at getting the information out to the public, and then have a referendum 12/13/22 is a possibility to be able to plan it, submit it, and get it ready for bid for an 18-month to 24-month window of construction. So that's just the update. Questions on anything?
Brian, post-COVID, is there any information, what you're probably going to say, but is New York State willing to refund anything to upgrade the ventilation in the AC post-COVID?
So that should be all building aidable. There shouldn't be any issues with that. The only thing would be like on Pike North and Spry a little bit is just to make sure we time when that project gets done that they're below their maximum cost allowances. Those are the only roadblocks for that. I haven't seen any like additional grants or anything like that from the state to do some of that work. But it would be create more energy efficiency because we're changing out outdated equipment with that as well.
A lot of information.
I'll just say it's really good work, but 15 million is still a lot of money. I just need more time to think through all this and the impact. But great presentation.
Can you maybe explain a little bit more about the benefit of housing the OWL program and
Right,
why
and
that's a
so,
priority?
yeah, let's say it was 2018, was it 2018? So these are students that would go to the Monroe 1 Boces Burt Morgan program. And at the time, we had about 22 students there. And, we're always looking at enrollment projections and space and doing, facilities overviews. So as part of the budget process, we were looking at that. Because on average, a student that goes to Monroe 1, it's about $125,000 for tuition. So we put our heads together as a team, and we're like, what can we do here? Because it was becoming quite the cost burden on our Boces bill. So we came up with the OWL program, 4 classrooms in Schlegel Road that were open for use with minimal disturbance, and we could bring those students back in district, which has been great. But if, without doing that, the difference in our Boces costs is, significant. It was, several $1 million savings. I don't like to talk about the financial side of it because it was, it was a very kid-centered decision. It's, they're in district, but there was a financial savings to the district when we did that, and we had the space. But I think the conversation in the last 2 years with the trying to cap some elementary sections and simultaneously the UPK grant. In the last 2 years, well, last year was the first year, we have 13 more elementary classrooms for UPK that are being used that weren't being used before. So we have, because we didn't want to, lose out on that funding, because they are watching our enrollment. You're 1 kid short, so they took away $5,400. So they're watching the enrollment on that. So we wanted to grab that funding, and so that put a little extra pressure on the elementary. This gives us the flexibility on the elementary side to continue some class size conversations, adapt to different things. Is there going to be further expansion of the UPK? So that would, that frees up 5 to 6 classrooms at the elementary, which if you multiply it by 20, that's, an extra 120 kids, whether it's UPK or, class size reduction that we could look at, I think is the biggest benefit. As we go through the secondaries and why at Willink, right now they don't have a great space. It's kind of like a temporary housing situation for the program there. A better space at Willink creates a much better program for them. And the same thing is said at Thomas. Thomas could use some extra classroom space as well for that. And to give back those classes to Thomas helps alleviate some issues with some of the elective courses and things like that in that area, returning to the building.
I think it's definitely a win-win, Brian. I don't think you should be worried about talking about any downside. But because keeping kids in our district and keeping them in schools with everyone else, I think is really important. And bringing in UPK and offering that education, it is a balance of how do we do it all. But keeping kids, here, I think is just, I think it's wonderful.
Right.
And still being able to give them the services that are going to help best benefit them. So I think that's wonderful.
So approving at this point is just moving to the next step in the phase?
Yeah, we, have the conversation. If there's, some things that we want to do, or were we missing something? Is it too much? We still have some time, a couple months throughout the summer, like you said, to kind of digest it all. But this was just the next step. Is we met in May and to have the okay, what's happened in the last 2 months, and give you guys that update.
All right. That being said, do we have a motion to approve the project at this point, to move to the next step? So move, Jen. Second, Charlie. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
And just, nothing would have to be formally approved until September.
Okay, thank you.
To meet some of these timelines.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're just moving forward to the next step. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, we're on to board business, treasurer's report.
All right, mind if I just stay right here? So we have the May's Treasurer Report for you, just a couple of things to highlight from the overview that were interesting, that were third quarter sales tax was beating our budget expectations. One of the reasons why we saw that trend and increased our sales tax as part of the 22-23 budget. So it's our third quarter sales tax. It is the county's first quarter sales tax, the way the fiscal years go. And then we received a surprising from the USDA $161,000 in the month of May for supply chain disruption as part of the USDA school lunch program. So those were probably the two most interesting things to point out as part of this treasurer's report. Any questions on?
All right, a motion to approve the May 2022 treasurer's report as presented. Mike, so moved. Jen, second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. 7-0. All right, capital project update.
Yeah, so the project is, I would say, in the home stretch for the spring of what was going on. And the summer is really coming to the conclusion for a bulk of the 2018 project. So in the springtime, you see a lot of things kept happening, a lot of work in transportation. They are moving very, very well over there. They were able to clear some amazing photos there. The tree clearing complete in springtime and really getting the leveling done. I think they're going to be ahead of schedule there. But the continuation of getting a lot of work done at Willink and the Willink Library and really finishing in spring. We finished 6 out of the 7 elementary libraries are done, with Schlegel soon to be completed this summer. But that was the majority of what was getting wrapped up. Schrader was entirely completed once we got the thaw and were able to do the throwing events on the grass and finished off the fencing. And Thomas punch list has been completed. Thomas is completely done for the main part of the project. And then really geared up for the 2 schools, State and Clem North, this summer, getting a bulk of their work done. So we're moving right along with this project.
And this is just for information only.
So Brian, you mentioned the one contractor earlier who, because of the price of asphalt going up, is losing money. If that contractor, and I know they're fixed price from that, and it's for more, how does that get handled?
No, they're locked in on their bid number. So one of the reasons why we added some conservative estimates to the earlier presentation is because we know one of the ways contractors recoup some things like that is on the next round of bidding, they'll look to make back, if they like the volatility in say in the oil markets or supply chains that they're seeing, like their costs have gone up, but 4 months ago they put a different number down on the bid on municipal bidding, now they're locked in. Next time they go bid a municipal project, they're going to look to recoup by going higher. So that's how they would address that.
As soon as they win the bid.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, I was gonna say, if they go higher and other people they're not doing that, then they're not gonna be the lowest bidder.
It would be like an industry trend because they're all going to see the same price increases.
Okay.
And I can't say that they're losing money with specificity. We know there is some strain on the number they bid comparative to what the market is saying now. Can reasonably deduce, I guess, is the best way.
We're good, that was for information only, so we can move on to the second reading of policy 4010. This was the district investments. It had that one line change.
Correct, yep. create cooperative municipal investments.
So that's the only change to this policy is just that one allowing us to invest
Correct.
in those cooperative.
Yep, that NICLAS, New York Cooperative Liquid Asset Fund.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Linda? Second? Shanna? All in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to the NISBA conference attendance. Assuming they have it this year, right? So we need 2 volunteers at least to start? I know, Jen? Shanna's like, I'm out.
I checked I'm not available on that Friday.
I don't know if Charlie or if you're, typically the newer, yes.
I am.
Okay,
Yeah. More could go.
can we, okay.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and we don't have to stay overnight if you choose
It's
not
only
to.
in
It's just
Syracuse, yeah.
It's for registration so that we can get, for people that want to stay overnight, right? Because hotels are a hot commodity, so I
Okay.
think that's the important
But we
thing.
can do it online, right?
Cindy will register everything, so that I think is the most
So
important.
definitely Jen and Carol. and
Charlie?
Yeah, my schedule looks good.
Okay. And then we need a designee or a delegate for October 17. It says meeting will be held virtually,
It could be anybody.
so it can be anybody. I can everyone is it.
On October 17th.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yep, that's fine.
All right, then we just need a motion to approve the attendance of the conference and then the delegate. Mike, so moved. Second, Jen. All in favor? Aye. 7. The next one is board liaison assignments and committee participation. I think we finally kind of got those divvied up. Are we good?
So Cindy, the one that's on, in the agenda packet is not quite correct. So can we approve it at the next meeting because it's not 100? We added
had
a couple
some.
things and took a couple of things off. So could we table that? Until the next meeting? Sure. If that's okay. All right. Thank you.
And then the 2022-23 Board of Education calendar is up next. Questions or comments for that? I know we talked a little bit about the July next year, maybe pushing it out.
But one thing that I just want, I just got invited with Sue Clark to go and meet with the comptroller, actually in Albany, on Tuesday, August 9th. And the purpose of that is because of our financial literacy course. And so it's a good meeting,
Yeah.
it's a positive meeting, yes. And so I think it's probably best for a district that I do attend with Sue, and the 2 of us do accept that. But that would then potentially push the retreat date and change that date. And I don't know, calendar-wise, if Cindy maybe could just send something out and see if we can't reschedule it sometime that week, if the board's okay with that.
Yep.
We can even look at like the 10th or something, I don't,
Sure.
or Monday, the 8th or
Later
the
in the
10th or
week
something
or-
like that. So.
So do we approve it or table it? Like,
Well, the only other question I had, that at one point we had mentioned too, is potentially having 2 retreats. I don't know if
Yeah.
we want 2 retreats, so that we would also need to look for another date in July, maybe?
Could we, yeah, maybe we should start with a retreat in July, and then if we feel like we need another
Yeah,
one, that
that's
gives
how you-
us a
that's
little
the
bit
better
of
way to do it.
wiggle room.
Gauge whether-
I think, right, I mean, sometimes we run out of time.
Right.
And August just seems all of a sudden.
Pressure to go time.
Right. So maybe if we could push something out to get everybody on a calendar for July, and then we'll do one as well in August. And then if we need the August one, we'll take it. If not, we can always cancel it.
The other thing that we could potentially look at is on the 15th, August 15th, could be, we could determine in July how long we need, and then we could
Right.
set and say we're going to have a 3-hour, 4-hour retreat prior to the board meeting, something to that effect. Those are options.
Yeah. No, definitely.
so do we?
So then Cindy we would probably table, do you want to table this?
You can approve your calendar with the exception of the retreat date on
Okay.
August
Okay.
9th,
There you go.
and then I'll canvass everybody tomorrow.
Great.
Okay, so motion to approve the 22-23 Board of Ed calendar with the exception of the retreat date to be determined. So moved, Jen.
Second.
Second, Carol. All in favor? Aye. Second. All right, we have our board goals, which we will tweak at the retreat, I'm assuming. So we will look to approve it for now and knowing that we'll take a look at them and maybe make some adjustments, correct?
Yeah, we're approving a draft.
We're approving the draft tonight. Yep. All right, questions or comments? Motion to approve the draft goals for 22-23. So moved, Jen.
Second.
Second, Charlie. All in favor? Aye. This next one is the one we're tabling.
Correct.
Correct?
So we
Okay.
are approving 2, tabling 1. So the first one we're approving is the Coles tax certiorari. So that one is a resolution. We are settling this with no refunds, so those are always great for the district. The town is in agreement with this with us, and so I would recommend that we also approve the Coles one this evening.
Do one at a time.
One at
One
a time. Yep.
Okay. Questions or comments? All right, motion to approve the Coles tax cert memo. Jen, so moved. Second, Shannon. All in favor? Aye. 7. Okay.
So next up would be then the Target tax certiorari. We also, this one was for 3 fiscal years, with some substantial possibilities for refunds for the district. So this one, also in conjunction with the town of Webster, we are in agreement to eliminate this multi-year tax certiorari, and with some refunds on this one, but with a significant potential costs if we were to go any further with this tax certiorari claim against the district. So I've added the calculations for you too for reference to see where they're landing with the agreement comparative to what they were looking for. So minimal exposure to the district on this one. Any questions on the target?
Motion to approve the Target tax cert memo. Mike, so moved.
In a second.
In a second. All in favor? Aye. 7.
And then just need a motion to table the 182 West Main Street to a further date due to some last minute negotiations that arrived this
Okay.
afternoon.
All right, so motion to table the Main Street tax cert this time. So moved, Jen.
Second.
Second, Charlie. All in favor? Aye. Food service budget adoption.
Right, so I put some information together for everyone's reference of the food service budget, and a big thank you to the staff, and I just wanted to share some financial updates. In the last 2 years, the program's been able to turn itself around from a structural deficit to now being back in the black for the school food service program, which we're excited because that's going to give us the opportunity to reinvest and do some new things. But hand in hand with that is you probably saw a placeholder as part of the reorganizational minute, meaning we always usually do lunch prices there. Right now, we're in a holding pattern until August because it's very interesting. There's one camp that is 100% certain that the USDA in July is going to come out with another year of free breakfast and free lunch. Then there's the other side that say, no, it's not happening. So we don't have to set anything until August, so this just gives us another month to wait it out and see what's going to happen. So I just wanted to share those highlights with you before we approve it. Our meals have come back, if you noticed, from in October. I shared 4 different years with you. I picked 2011-12 as a benchmark year because that was right before all the USDA meal changes came into place. All this, the salt calorie intake, you know. So from that's the year before everything came in to where we're at now. So we've almost rebounded from 1920 was a real low year. So just wanted to show you that and then talk some program changes for you, some exciting things. There is some flexibility that we're seeing. Like I said, the universal meals ended June 30th, but we'll see what happens with that. We actually did just receive a grant. One of the things that New York State's really been pushing is buying local, but that's real hard to buy local fruits and vegetables when they're available because they're not in season. So it's very difficult, but we were just awarded, and I was told not to say anything, but we got our loan for a $100,000 agricultural markets grant. And Mark and I had applied for this several months ago, and the whole point of what we're going to do is buy equipment to turn some of, like, tomatoes, for instance, and create our own tomato sauce. Something we're going to hire. We have several volunteers on the kitchen staff are, in essence, going to can local fresh tomatoes. We're going to buy them. Normally, they just go to waste because we don't have anybody around in August to mass produce tomato sauce. But this grant will go towards the purchase of equipment and the labor hours to be able to do things like that. Also looking what fresh fruits maybe we can freeze, vacuum seal, and further do that are local that we could keep throughout the year, that maybe many of us would do in our own homes. So we're excited about that. We're going to potentially try to get more and more of those grants. The exciting part is normally we don't get these grants because we don't qualify on the socioeconomic side of things, but it seems they might be loosening up the rules on that, so very, very excited about that. We're doing a complete menu revamp at all levels for varying age tastes, and like I said, we're also going to convert our commodities that normally we might divert from the federal government to a third-party vendor to produce things for us. We're going to take them in-house and have our staff do different products with them versus turning it over to, you know, Schwann's or Captain Tony's Pizza to make pizzas for us. We might do something. We're going to do more in-house as part of that grant. So I put together the budget. We're looking for adoption, and this one, you know, I always like to give it as information, but it's very fluid. We can change it throughout the year as things change. It's not as restrictive as our general fund budget, which gets voted on. But I always like to have the school lunch budget because it is one of the next largest budgets we have. You guys to have eyes on and approve. Questions on food service in general or where we're headed? Anything?
Is there talk years ago, was it at the high school prior to COVID, we had come out of that?
Yeah, that was probably the unluckiest idea I've ever come up with.
Is that- Are our thoughts to go back to that at some point?
So-
'Cause the menu was much more flexible, maybe?
Yes, the menu is much more flexible when the high schools are out because the data was showing, and we did, the high school kids just were not participating anymore in school lunch. So there was no point in being in, you know, we were reaching a point where we could subsidize the free and reduced kids if we left because nobody was buying school lunch at the secondary level because, you know, you're 16, 17 years old. It's, you know, it's a different palette. So, yes, we removed ourselves, and then the pandemic hit, and it became free, so we went back in, and so we're still in because it's made sense. And we're thinking with some menu changes, maybe we could keep that participation, you know, get 95% of the way there with maybe some of the meal requirements. We'll be good. But we're always looking at it.
Well, I remember it was such
Yeah.
a huge drop-off that kids just weren't, that the students weren't buying any lunches, and that was a very big concern, so.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? motion to approve the budget adoption for food services? Jen, so moved. Second. Shanna, all in favor? Aye. Boces transportation contract.
Yep, so next up is our transportation contract with Monroe and Boces. You'll see it's down from years previous because they're no stranger to the bus driver shortage as well. So they notified us in the spring they won't be able to commit to as many runs as they have in the past. But this is a flexible amount. This is the initial starting point, just shy of $800,000. But that could change on a month-to-month basis depending on what they're able to do or can or can't do. But with this approval, we can send the contract over to SED, so we can start the year with the right paperwork and start accruing transportation aid.
This searches programs like the EMCC programs.
This is for students that might take, go to O'Connor,
Okay.
or we don't have anybody left at Morgan Bird. Yeah, I think we do have a couple Morgan Bird. Some of the Monroe 2 placements they'll take students out to. And some of the private placements as well, like at Crestwood.
Okay. Motion to approve the Boces transportation contract. Jen, so moved. Second? Seconded. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. 7. Boces lease approval.
So, yes, we are looking to do a 3-year technology lease. This is a new lease. This is one we have not done before. So if you remember many years ago, district received about $4.4 million in smart bond allocations. And so a lot of districts bought devices, but we wanted to try to get something that would be a little bit more long-term, that would last, because, a device is going to need to be replaced very quickly. So we did infrastructure with our funding, all the wireless access points, and we're hopeful maybe to get somewhere in 5 to 7 years out of them. But the technology has grown so rapidly that the wireless access points we have can't keep up. So we are going to replace them all throughout the year through Boces as part of like a little mini lease project here. Just because, the technology is just, and now with that on the lease cycle, 3 years, we can replace them again. And so it's just one of those things that didn't work out as long as we had hoped to from the original Spark Bond funding.
Part of this, if you know, so as things break, it'll get replaced through Boces and not necessarily at the
Yep.
district level cost? Okay, so it's kind of warranty.
Yeah, there's warranties.
Okay.
Part of it. And it's a substantial, it's going to take a full year to get them all of them up and replaced. So
We know what technology, the brand new stuff can bring
yeah,
to.
as soon as we put it up, there's probably going to be 3 more models.
Brian, can you look at any other options besides Boces or this vendor?
We can, we could, there's like 6 different vendors you can pick from through Boces.
Okay.
Usually,
So Boces administers it, but they go through different projects.
yeah, there's Boces, in essence, takes care of the bidding for us, the purchasing requirements, and they do that, and we purchase through them. It also increases our state aid.
So what you're saying, it would have been more expensive to try to do it all in-house?
We'd get no aid if we did it in-house.
That's good to know.
And Brian, what about, I know this is a year that we're changing out all of our devices for the,
Yeah, full refresh too, so busy year for the tax group.
has there been any issue with delivery?
Nope, they're all here.
Okay, that's great.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah,
Did have time to eat?
They're all here, being laser engraved by our summer help.
great. One last stress, right?
I know, exactly.
That was a stress when we got the order in quickly because of that.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve the Boces lease agreement. So moved, Jen. Second, Carol. All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. I don't have the little statement here that Tammy used to read, but what, after
I
that?
would just go through and say what would have
Different, okay.
Yeah.
So within the consent agenda, which we've all had time to look at, is the approval of meeting minutes, personnel actions, recommendations for the Committee on Special Ed, preschool, CSE appointments, the district organization chart, cooperative bid for fine paper supply, cooperative bid for athletic supplies, cooperative lunch paper and plastic supplies, all together in one.
And for people that, if there's some of you that are here for the first time, these documents for the board meetings are online, and so you can see what we're looking at. And at boarddocs.com, is that for everybody, right, Cindy? Yeah, so boarddocs.com, you can go and look at all 100 and something paperwork, but the consent agenda, all that information is in there, so you can follow along with the meeting and follow those documents. So I'm glad I'm telling you at the end, but just so you know for the next time.
And we approve it all together. So a motion to approve all the consent agenda items as recommended by the superintendent. Jen? Second. Charlie, all in favor? Aye. Alright. That takes us to visitor speaking time. I'm not going to read the lengthy policy. I think as a board, we're here to listen to everyone. We welcome everyone. We hope that you can adhere to the 4 minutes just for time's sake. And we are happy to follow up as requested afterward, but we look forward to hearing from the community. Cindy, go ahead and let us know who we have.
We have Mandy Kresge.
I will say your parade pictures were beautiful. She was beautiful dancing in those parade. Yes.
I didn't think she'd get scared. Normally, she's excited to be the center of attention.
It's okay.
Hi, my name is Mandy Kresge, and I'm very happy to be here to tell you our story. That was Annabelle, and she's going into 5th grade at DeWitt, and this is her 7th year in Webster. She started at our home school, Schlegel, in the 1214, and then we retained her in kindergarten to move to the ICT at DeWitt. In 3rd grade, we moved her to the 1211. Luckily, again, it was at DeWitt. We've kept her in the North Catchment, so our home school and the school she attends will filter into Willing. This way she could be with all of her friends.
You got this.
I recently found out that the 1211 and the 1511 are only available at Spry, and we were both devastated at this news. I'm sure as parents, you can imagine how that would make you feel. We live in a very tight-knit neighborhood, and Annabelle has formed some very close friendships with many of the girls who are also very disappointed to hear that they might not go to middle school with her. We understand that they may not see each other during the day much, but there's a sense of community within the school, as well as extracurricular activities and events that we don't want her missing out on with all her friends. I'm coming to you tonight to ask if we could work together to build a program at both Willink and Thomas that would be inclusive for her and others in the same situation to remain in their catchment. I know that diversity, equity, and inclusion are an important and fundamental part of One Webster, and I feel by providing the right educational program for every student without removing them from their peers, it would create a stronger feel of community for these students. I've spoken to many parents who are hesitant to move their children to a more inclusive setting due to having to change schools and make all new friends. I've also spoke to families who have made the change and their children were never able to make lasting relationships, which was devastating for them. I want to work with as a team with you, the board, to make special education in Webster one that is talked about only in a positive light, one that other districts strive to replicate. I'd be happy to sit in on workshops, rally parents, or anything needed to make this happen to help our kids with disabilities have a sense of belonging and inclusion in Webster. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, congratulations to our new board members. I'm glad to say that we've had spoken before from time to time. I want to remember some of your good promises, but anyways, congratulations, everybody. Let's see, I would also like to, dealing with the vote, thank you, Mr. Neenan. I thought that was pretty neat in the newsletter where you thanked not just the board winners, but everybody who ran. I thought that was pretty good. I like to see that. However, today, cynically, I thought a little bit, well, wait a minute. If I were in your shoes and the conservative or the questioning candidates all, you got a whole bunch of them, they split the vote, I'd kind of be happy with that too. But at any rate, that was very nice of you to say thank you for that. As far as the voting, you did better than some districts. I heard in some districts in the cafeteria or in the gymnasiums, they told everybody to get away from the vote count. Stay away. You get way over there, we'll tell you who won. Which is, but in this district, you said nothing like that. You let everybody stand where they wanted to. I even overlooked your shoulder very, just to look at things. And that was good. I like that. I would say, however, one thing that could be done, that used to be done, is that board candidates can see the actual count, can see the paperwork, instead of just taking somebody's word for it. Because that's what we were told. We were told by the person running the vote, just take our word for it. Just trust us. And again, I believe in trust, but trust and verify. But that would make it better. If somebody could get, because you can make copies of the tapes and put them on display for 5 minutes. If somebody wants to see it, let them see it. Someone asked to see it, and they were denied. So not a big deal, but it's just one more step if you want to make it even better and more transparent, like regular elections. Because I know this is your own election. You've got your own rules. You don't have to do it like the other elections. But they used to do it in school boards where candidates could see the count for themselves, not just take somebody's word for it. But at any rate, the other thing, but again, thank you too for your impartiality during the campaign. That was good. And as to the vote, it was kind of close, believe it or not. If you take the 4 candidates that were kind of pro-union and the 5 that were kind of like conservative on the other side, I think there was about a 300 vote difference between the two. So I'm trying to encourage people that come like myself to be encouraged that we have a voice. There's a lot of people out there that are saying some of the things that I'm saying. We're not a minority. I think hopefully you can see that. Nobody's a super majority here, but at any rate, just encourage. And also, there are a few board members that encouraged us in the defeat to keep coming to the board meetings, keep speaking our piece. The other thing is, I'm not sure why one board member was not endorsed, because I don't know what happened. For the year that I was here, everything that was done by the unity of the board. Everybody did it. So if there was good, it was the whole board. If there was some bad stuff that we criticized, it was the whole board. So I'm not sure if there's going to be a difference. Hopefully there is, though. So, I'm asking the question, will budgets be tighter? Will foils get easier to be had? Will public speaking requirements be eased? And I'm out of time. So last week, you had one speaker, last meeting, one speaker. She did a beautiful job preparing it. I disagree with her viewpoints, but I could see she was frustrated when the beeper kept coming. We didn't have this a little while ago. Just if I leave it to 40 minutes, but anyways, I'm hoping that kind of things like that can change, So blessings on everybody on this year and doing your best for our kids, for the entire community. Thank you.
Mr. Mr. Ruiz, can I ask you just a clarifying question?
Yes,
You-
absolutely.
When you're talking about candidates seeing the count, are you talking about the actual ballot that prints from the machine, or are you talking about the exit survey results?
Well, I thank you for your question. When we used to have these sliders, the notches, and the old machines, you were allowed to go behind the machines, the district, the lawyers, the candidates, and actually see the numbers on the 4 or 5 machines. You could see the numbers. It was a courtesy. So now it would be the paper ballots that we were not, we had, and
Yes.
if those
Okay,
machines,
read
you hit the
them.
button and they'll print an extra copy.
And you want to actually, I gotcha. So
So,
you're asking
in
to
a
see
regular
it.
meeting, in a regular election, by law, they have to post a copy of that on the wall at the polling place. After 9 o'clock, they post it, people can see it. After a while, they take it down. So it's a second copy that's posted. It's just so people see it, that's all. So that's what was requested, to at least see the copy, or to see what was read, and it was denied. They were allowed to see the zero count. At the beginning of the election, the computer prints out a zero read to show, hey, everything's at 0. Here's the piece of paper, you have it now. And they were good to see, where you could see that all the machines were set to 0. But the actual final count, that was not allowed. So that was.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer Fonseca.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Just like David, I do want to congratulate everybody who is new to the board. Welcome. And to the new president, vice president. And I can't believe that it's been more than a year since I've been joining. You've gone back live and in person, and I've been able to speak, been able to help the community a little bit more to be aware of things that are going on. So I do thank you, and Janice did a wonderful job tonight, and I really appreciate all of you just speaking and being more encouraging, addressing us as the audience, etc. I'm going to go a little bit off because that mom just touched my heart. My oldest, oh man, he's 31 now, and when we first came to Webster when he was in 5th grade, and I had to homeschool him overseas because he had special needs and couldn't go into a school, how I had to work with this district. And I'm going to get emotional now because I fought for my son to go to Norman Howard, to be in the right placement for him, and this district did the same thing to me and my son, switching him from one program to another building where he had difficulties to adapt. And it was all because of the dollar figure put on a child, not because of the student's needs. And I fought, and you could probably go back to his file because we had a real difficult time with him. That in the end, he had to go on a 3-hour tutor schedule over at Schrader until I could get him into Norman Howard. And I've always, since that day, have approved your budget because you gave my son a chance, and now he's successful. And I just ask you to do the same for this mom. Keep the child where she knows. Mom knows their kids. Right, Shannon? You know your child. So please do that. And as board members, you're here to represent us as well as the U.S. and the New York State Constitution. And I just want to remind you of that, to leave all politics aside. And remember why you're here. You're here to question. You're here to represent us. You're here to help us to understand. And I know that you're going to work on that this year. In the last workshop, I purposely came because it was your data workshop. That has always been my life, working in curriculum and instruction and data. And I really wanted to hear how are our kids doing academically in this district, especially after the last couple of years and with the interruptions with COVID. Didn't get that. All I got was go to the New York State site and see how they're doing. Where's the data? Where are they academically? We've heard so much about social and emotional learning and this DEI this past year, but we don't know where their reading, their writing, their math, their sciences are. Where is it? Are they a norm? Do we want our kids to be norms? No, we don't want them to be a norm, a typical child. We want to see Webster with the dollars that we put behind them and the effort we put into education. We want to see them exceeding the norms. So where are they? How much have they grown? Or because of COVID, have they fallen? And I'm not just talking about grade level. I'm talking about where they came in 2019, 2020, 2021, and now in 2022. Where's the growth? How are they doing? When I was at that workshop, I do pull up on my phone the agenda. Thank you, Shannon. I always pull up the agenda. I pull up the PowerPoint slides. In the workshops that I have been to this year, there have been no microphones. There have been no handouts to those who do attend so that we could see what those questions were and also see and get a feel of what you're doing. Everything is off to the side. We can't hear you. So it's a new school year, and I just hope that we can work together and continue to improve that communication between the taxpayers, et cetera. And I would like to talk with somebody at some point of how to help involve the community a little bit more. I was disappointed that no community member replied to that survey in that last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
That's it, right? Speaker time? All right, motion to adjourn. Linda? Second. Jen? All in favor? Aye. 7-0. Meeting adjourned.